Ladies and gentlemen, this is John Cheplak here today with you, and I'm excited to spend an hour with Matthew Crumbaugh, with Allison James, and we're going to talk leadership, growth, and productivity, which is what I'm super excited about because we're in an industry that certainly we all want productivity, but he's doing some things in productivity in our industry in not your typical model. And the cool thing is we've had conversations over the years, but there was I love social media. There was a post that you shared about a week or two ago, and it's like, I've got to spend some time with this gentleman. So Matthew, welcome. Thank you for spending time with me today.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me, for sure.
You bet. So let's start in current space and time, and tell us about Allison James right now. Talk a little bit about your model. Talk about you know agents and your scope, where you guys are at today, and then we'll go back to the beginning and bring it back around.
Um, Allison James today, we're growing rapidly. Our space is that it was really, we're considered the virtual model. We are kind of getting away from virtual. We're not virtual. We're 100% model. We're an agent-centric model. The word virtual we don't like to use really anymore. Do we have tons of office space? Yes and no. Technically, we have 52 offices. I just don't personally pay for them. And it's the future of real estate. We go after productive agents as of today, like most companies are trying to get the productive agents, but we happen to be capturing them. We don't hire newbies as of today unless maybe they go on a mentor program. And I think a big part of why we're capturing who we're capturing is we don't sell the magic beans. This is what we are. This is what we offer. And we come through on what we offer and how we service our agents. And a big part of that, too, is why we started in 2008 and the downturn is we run a tight ship. My staff will tell you that we work you hard, but I also take care of them. So we run a tight ship. We're really here to service the agents. The agents are our clients. The consumers are their clients. And that's where we're at. We're growing. We're growing by transactions faster than agents, which for me is good. So less agents doing more business.
And let's talk about that growth number that I saw. I don't want to misquote you, but there was a growth number that you shared. What's happened over the last 12 months as far as growth is concerned in your organization?
Last year we added $1 billion in sales and right around 3,000 transactions year over year. We've been growing like that for years, not quite that much. I think we slowed a year, but we're adding mass amounts of transaction and volume.
So a billion in sales, 3,000 transactions, and how many agents? Let's bring that calculation into the picture.
That's something I don't talk about a lot either, because the companies we're competing with a lot, they're upwards of the 5,000-10,000 high agent count. We did that with less than 1,000 agents.
Wow.
So we added 3,000 year over year. I think we netted about 250 agents last year. We grew by about 500. So our production per agent is high. It's one of the highest out there. It's funny because we get called part-timers all the time. I laugh because one of my favorite things is I had a guy write some hate mail saying, called us a pajama broker. And I always laugh. I said, well, if we can do 10,000 transactions in our pajamas, imagine if we got up and put our suits on.
So beautiful. So, I know your father, a great gentleman, and I tell people, I don't know, I've just hung around a long time and have had the privilege to meet people like him in this industry, and you certainly have had the opportunity to be raised by him and follow him and mentored by him. Talk about your trajectory, and we've never talked about this. Did you come into real estate, what, Dad? I'm going to be in real estate, and that's going to be my deal, and you've just been that natural progression, or was there something before real estate for you?
No, I've been an entrepreneur since day one. Started my first company when I was 18, paint contracting company. For me, just working was what I was born with, I guess you could say. Started my first company at 18, very rapidly grew it. Come about 2005, I was doing about 300 homes a year in a little town, Durango, Colorado. I was doing the Walmarts, I was doing the schools. My motto was just to outwork everybody. My rule with my team was first on the job site, last to leave, no matter what. So if the plumbers are staying till 7 at night, we stay till 8, and that was just hands down, we outwork everybody. And it worked for us. We also offered a good product. That company was built on handshakes. I literally didn't have a business card, a phone number, an ad out there, nothing. I wasn't on the internet. I banged doors, shook hands, and did what I said I was going to do. So no, real estate wasn't in my blood, but I was around it with my father for a long time. He's second generation, so I knew the business, but not really. I never imagined being in it. And then he started emailing me about Allison James, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting model. And then I literally woke up one day and left my company, moved to Florida, and got into Allison James in 2009, right at the beginning. I think I got bored or complacent, I'm not sure, because my company was thriving in Colorado, thriving. I had my best year ever in 2008. It would have taken a downturn like the rest, but Colorado was behind the curve. But I had all the property managers, and I mean, I would have survived. Sure. But I literally woke up one day, called a moving truck, and went to Florida.
Wow.
Scariest moment of my life, hands down.
So when you got into the business, you didn't have the transactional background of selling real estate and what we call, I talked about this earlier today with another broker owner, herding cats, for lack of better words, because we've got independent contractors here. And, whereas you came from a model of, we show up, we do the work, and we go home and we get paid for the work. But there's an interesting thing that you talked about that's leadership, and it's that first to arrive, the last to leave. I mean, it sends a messaging. Talk about, how did you merge into the business? Talk about that progression into real estate.
I started at the ground floor. We were it was my father, my stepmother, and me, basically, and a handful of staff, not even a handful, half a handful of staff. And he threw me in head first. That's kind of how my father is too. So here you go. Here's an anchor tied to your head. Let's go. It was a tough road to start. Number one, we were in 2009. Things weren't good. People who know me said, "What are you doing? You've lost your mind." Started recruiting at the beginning, learning the ropes, learning the business, and then started growing. God bless my father. He's a promoter. He's a salesman. I'm an operator. So very rapidly, I knew where I needed to be in this business as an operator and running a profitable company and bringing the pieces together of a great promoter and stepmother, a great recruiter. And that's kind of how I got in and started dealing with the legal pieces. And so I learned rapidly on that end of, law and contracts, and I'm good at that stuff. So that's kind of been my progression. Just dive into it, and here we are. We weren't, we were boiling our shoestrings those first years to make this work. This company's funded by us. Our family funded it, so it was our blood, sweat, and tears, and that's what we gave it. Kind of went back to my core values. Let's outwork everybody to make this happen. I did have great people around me who've been in the business forever, teaching me and guiding me, and then I was bringing my leadership skills to the table, and that's kind of how we got over that hump.
Well, and let's go back to when you came into it, and I'll share, your dad and I connected. I mean, people use the term trailblazer, and there's, it's this overarching term, and here's how I would articulate it. I mean, your father was fearless. He was crystal clear laser beam. I remember, we had many conversations. I got along wonderfully with your dad, and it's been a while. Excuse me. Tell him I say hello. I should probably just reach out. Maybe he's having fun and he picks and chooses. I hope he is. He deserves it. But I would like, and for those that weren't around then, it was no joke. You talk about, people are always making comments about different competition models, but I mean, it was no joke to push back. I'm not talking about in a marketplace. I'm talking about an industry. Do you remember those times?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We got a lot of pushback. People didn't believe. Well, I think NAR still calls us the disruptive model. So a lot of pushback. A lot of people said we weren't going to succeed. A lot of hatred at our model, obviously. The low commissions, the people who are buried in the brick and mortar and the high splits to keep the companies alive. That's what it is. But, where's Blockbuster?
Right. And so let's talk about what you have mastered, you and your father. And I don't know that people really observe this. I mean, certainly there's your operating capabilities, which we're going to talk about. It's not capabilities, it's results. But I think there's something really valuable here that agents that are leading a team and building these teams, how that thing's going on. But more importantly, I know that you network and interact with the biggest brokers in the world. And their number one issue is certainly leadership, but it's the succession plan. And it's big. What are you going to do? Well, maybe this. Talk about that, because I think there's some tremendous value in that I don't know that I've seen or heard shared. How did that start to evolve? How did it take place? Because there's a culture, there's a messaging. Take us through that process of that succession that has taken place and brought you to where you're at today.
Well, you're right. I do sit with some of the biggest broker owners, Dave Lineker, all the big boys every year. I do all the events that we all go to. One of the event of the Gathering of Eagles, succession planning is coming up, and it's funny because a lot of these guys will tell you that most of them are going out with the toe tag. They don't have one. I think you'll see like KW did it. But a lot of these guys, I don't know if it's just because they don't want to retire. This is all they know. Yeah. I think that's part of it. Mm-hmm. Truth be told, with me and my father, it was type A personalities that kind of led us to where we were at. We had different visions, different views on where the company needed to go. Mm-hmm. He was already on his second or third retirement. And the world had changed of real estate. The type of people in the industry, the consumers, we have the millennials coming. It was a different world, the technology and everything that needed to function. And we weren't seeing eye to eye, truth be told. So one of us had to go.
Love it.
As much as, that's just kind of how it was. Sure. But he realized he needed the next generation to push this thing along. My wife, who's the marketing monster of this company, he knew that. And he saw that if we were going to, grow this thing to 10,000 agents, whatever the number may be, sure, he needed to hand it off to the next generation. And I think a lot of companies, you're right, they need to start saying, who is this person that's going to take this company from where it was to where it needs to be? Mm-hmm. He came from the traditional background, so he still had a lot of those traditional beliefs. Even though he founded Allison James and had that vision, he needed someone like me and my wife to take that vision and make it a reality.
Sure. So when did that actual transition take place? How long ago was that?
2012.
2012. And so when you went into that part, part of it is there's, were you so embedded in the organization where you didn't have to really go out and do it's easy to do an announcement or however we put it out to the organization, That's the easy part. The other part is, okay, whoa, there's change, and so, gosh, let's stop selling real estate because agents can tend to do that. Let's stop selling real estate and let's focus on, oh my gosh, there's change in the company, and it's like, wait a minute, just keep doing what you're doing. How did you handle that? Were you so embedded in the company that you didn't really need to worry about that re-recruiting process with your existing people? Or was there an element where you had to go out and share, here's what we did, here's why we did it, and you had to do some damage control in that? How did that go?
Well, it's kind of twofold. For before he stepped down, I was kind of the face of a company for a while there. I started traveling around. I was the guy going and speaking at the events. I started doing it with him, and then I started progressing that I was going on my own. So I was slowly becoming the face of the company. One thing about us is our big sales pitches, we are a family-owned company. I get text messages from agents, hey, where's my CDA, my commission disbursement? I don't hide behind the scenes, so I'm a very upfront owner, CEO. So that was a pretty smooth transition. But with that being said, literally the day we took over, we went back to zero with this company. We knew we had a vision, we had a plan ready to go. So that day, we scratched everything we were doing from technology. I mean, it didn't just change overnight.
Sure.
And that caused some disruption.
Sure.
Getting new staff, rolling out new technology. So we've definitely had some bumps in the road with that. As I say, we're doing 100 miles an hour down the road trying to rebuild an engine, and that's exactly what it is. So we made some drastic changes and some hard turns and some hard decisions, but they've all worked out for the best. And there was damage control along the way.
So, in looking at the organization today, there's you and your wife. Talk about the support staff that you have from a corporate level to run this organization. $1 billion in sales last year.
No, last year almost $3 billion. We added $1 billion.
Right. Increase. Talk about your current staff, the scalability, those type of things. Is it a model where that people can plug in? You're so systemized right now, or what's the staffing look like in an organization like yours?
Well, we run a tight ship. That goes back to my paint contractor days. But systems are key to what we're doing. Our accounting system talks to our file management system, that talks to to Wells Fargo. A lot of systems to do a lot of what we used to be doing at data entry. So we run that. Everything's talking to each other. We have a full robust system, which that is a whole nother conversation, as you know.
Sure.
Technology, I bang my head against the wall. It's never ending. But we also want personal touch, because we sell us as a family-owned company. We want people to be able to reach people. So it's not just systems. So we're well staffed, and that's been part of our progression too. We moved to Southern California for a reason, for multiple reasons, but to get good people, to get good staff. We have staff in Florida, we have staff here, some staff scattered, but we run a real tight ship, and I have a lot of young, hardworking people, kind of like how I was.
Sure.
And they're not afraid to answer the phone at 7, 8, 9 at night. They're not afraid to work weekends. And I'm not afraid to give bonuses and take care of people. So my staff will tell you, they work hard. I pay way above most. And all I ask is the job gets done.
That's beautiful. So how many
time clocks?
How many marketplaces are you guys in right now?
Marketplaces, states or marketplaces? I can't count marketplaces.
Yeah, marketplaces. That's a pretty right. I'm in Phoenix right now, and we could talk many different marketplaces just in the Phoenix Valley. So how many states are you guys in?
16 states. California and Florida haven't been our monsters. And then they start trickling down from there. That's been kind of, since I've taken over, if I would have started this myself at the beginning, I would have boiled pots of water and not the ocean. But we have goals to start really building out a lot of our other areas. California, we dominate from Southern California all the way to San Francisco. We're big out here, do a lot of business. Florida, we do. Florida is really ramping up. And then the other states, they start trickling down.
So how do you go into a marketplace? Do you seek leadership first, or do you go to agents first? There's many different ways. I'll have people that'll go into a marketplace and, you know what, we trust our model. We're just going to open, and we've got a leader. I've got others that will go in from a corporate level, and they'll do their due diligence and put their toe in the water and see, can we get a group of agents that have an interest? Yes, we do. So now let's find a leader. Do you fall in any of those categories, or entirely different when you look at going into a market?
Well, we've kind of gone through the gamut. Early on the company, we would just kind of get anyone there to get the state open and climb the highest tree and yell as loud as we could. Then it kind of evolved to trying to get the elephant in the room, go get the big dog agent, and the antelope will follow. And now we're kind of going towards, let's get good leadership in, get the right team to start, get the elephants, and then climb the tree and start yelling. So it's been an evolution for sure. Now I won't open areas unless I have the right people, unless it's the absolute right fit. We just opened Pennsylvania with an amazing team there, amazing group of leaders. And that's going to be the difference, because as we know, our model, we're not the only ones anymore. So the competition is really ramped up in our field. So we need the right people. And leadership, as you know, John, is the big key to success.
Sure. It was in my earlier conversation with a broker owner this morning and my mentor. I'm quite sure you know Ed Kraftchow.
Yeah.
And the first thing Ed said to me is, John, we've got this great company here. He says, but here's the deal: people are going to join the leader or leave the leader. That's the bottom line. And so in looking at that and where you guys are at today, you had to have leadership, and then we started having some conversations as you guys looked at bringing, okay, it's, people can call it virtual, they can call it whatever they want. You've got a 100% model. So there's a couple of things that, what's so beautiful is I can have 1,000 brokers in a room, I can have one in a room, and I'll ask the question, what's the number one most important attribute of your organization? Our culture. And so, you can't create culture if you're virtual, or if you're 100%, or if you're this or that and all that type of stuff. Every organization has a culture, and everyone does. And culture has connectivity. Talk about how you've done that, because that's the piece that you guys, to grow. I just know, without us having any in-depth conversations before on this factor, the bottom line is you have been able to master creating a culture within your business model.
Well, there's a lot of talk about that culture. How can we have culture when we don't see our agents? And the first thing I tell people is, what is the first thing you do when you get off the airplane? What is the first thing everyone does right when that plane lands? Turn on their cell phone, right? They're now connected. The world has changed. Now consumers in real estate, we teach our agents this. If you're not out there on the internet, people have an opinion of you before they've ever met you. So how do we have culture? We have private Facebook groups, webinars. We do live events and stuff. We do meet and greets and go drink wine with our agents. But what is everyone doing? They're glued to their phones. We have so much stuff that's in front of them. When they turn that phone on, there's a good chance that they're looking at something from Alice and James, whether it's business, culture, Facebook posts. So we're in front of them the way people want to connect now. This is the reality. What do you do when you get off the plane? You turn your phone on and you log into Facebook, right? This is what everyone's doing. So we like to say we're probably in front of you, our agents, more than the guy who's sitting in his brick and mortar waiting for the guy to come in to build some culture. The culture's out there. We're building culture to what people want now. This is the culture.
You know what's so amazing in my broker owners, managers, recruiters that I work with, the number one, certainly I hope that they show up because they can see that I've been able to work with people, get a result, etc. But I'll tell them this: the most valuable experience you're going to have with me is me sending you to go observe what other people are doing online, because it will tell you almost everything about their organization. And the most successful brokerage firms that I've had an experience of, and maybe it's because that's what I believe in, and so naturally I'm going to attract those, but I don't know. Um, they are playing in that space. I think it's that fear of change, and so programmed that it's got to feel this certain way, when at the same time they're doing a training class that says, that Instagram thing you're not worried about. Well, there's 400 million people there now per month with an income level of over 28% of them over 75,000. When people used to say it was kitty land, and they don't think in those spaces, so why not accommodate that behavior? It's quite simple. So, so,
Uh-huh.
so looking at that, you're clear in your vision, and we'll talk about the training. I'm real curious to hear about that, because I know I'd seen, we had some conversations about it, and then I saw your wife, highly competent woman, has dug into that. So we'll talk about that part. But taking a look at the organization before that piece even came in, what is it that pulls people to you? Because you're not, you stated the funny statement, but I know this. You're not a promotion guy. You're a, here's the experience you're going to have with us, and does it work? That promotion of over salesy type. What is it that you would say pulls agents to, has pulled them to you, to this point, and continues to pull them to your organization, your model?
I kind of go back to is our sales pitch is what it is. When we bring people in, they get exactly what we tell them. Exactly. We don't sell them that. People may not like to hear, a lot of friends I have in the industry. We don't sell them that your free website is going to bring you a lot of business. We don't believe that anymore. Maybe you need it to have a presence online, but we're living in the reality of, how do you do 10,000 transactions? How do 1,000 agents do 10,000 transactions? We do high level training as of today. How to use Google Hangout, how to use certain things. We're not drilling down into the basics, but we don't sell the magic beans. We tell them this is what we have. We turn agents away all the time. We don't bring them in the door just to bring them in the door. And I make this statistic up, but I want to say we get more agents back monthly, returning agents within 30 to 60 days than anyone in the industry. I cannot tell you that. But mass amounts who go, they drank the Kool-Aid, it didn't work, and they come back and just say, why did we leave? Why did we leave, you guys? A lot of it goes back to just my roots. There's someone there to answer the phone 7 days a week at this company.
I mean,
Whether it's me,
it's so
if I'm sitting on the
simple.
beach and an agent calls me, I'm going to go to the office and I'm going to take care of them. And that's what it comes down to. Getting them paid, right? We have to get our agents paid. We use so much technology. We don't even go to the bank. ACH everything, desktop deposit. It's the experience. But the experience needs to be making money. These agents selling real estate, making money. The experience doesn't need to be all these bells and whistles, because we don't offer that. Do we offer all the bells and whistles now? Pretty much. And that's been an evolution of the 100% model. We used to say, well, we don't give you this, this, and this because you can go buy it.
Mhm.
But the agents need to focus that not every agent needs a website, or not every agent needs an office. But with our 100% models, they can pick and choose what is going to suit them best, because everyone has a better skill set. Some agent may be a master and build a master website, but we tell them this. Nowadays, we tell them we have this and this and this, but we used to say, hey, don't give up 40% for this, this, and this, and you're only going to use 3 out of the 12 tools. And 3 out of those 12 tools probably aren't going to generate you that much business at the end of the day. This is what you need to be doing to drive business.
Well, and let me share this with you, and I know that you have honorable relationships with highly respected leaders in the industry, but I'll say this is a risk of someone that coaches and trains. I know some people, many people won't work with me, because I'll share with them, your brand, those postcards, that marketing department, it's amazing. Right now it's irrelevant because people join a leader. See, what you've just articulated here that I want people to capture is, John, we played in the skeleton or whatever you want to call it, in a space of, listen, you can plug in here. We've got a good business model, but what we're saying is we're freeing up the money so you can go invest and pick and choose, I mean, anyone can go with whatever, and not to minimize or maximize whatever model it is, and now you guys have moved to, and we'll talk about where there's more training and there's more tools. But the thing I want people to capture, and two things you've talked about, and you're not saying, I'm just a great leader. I want them to capture this. You are a great leader. Because the one thing that maybe the model has evolved and what you're doing from what you offer, but the leader hasn't changed. It's about leadership. Yes, you have because you're amongst people where you learn and you grow, but the bottom line is everything's about leadership. People say, what model do you like the best? I think this one, that one. I said, well, we can go to brand ABC, XYZ, LMNOP, all three of them, and I can show you one that has closed their doors in the last 12 months or has had to merge, or there's something that's been presented out there, but we know underneath it failed. So it's about leadership. And so when you take a look at your, the work that you're doing and your leadership, how have you continued to grow and expand while holding true to what's you? What has been, the key to your growth as a leader and as a human being? Because if we don't, the company doesn't grow.
Well, that's a good question, John. For me, I have grown a lot over these 7 years I've been in this business. I came into it pretty cocky as a businessman.
But your dad never was that guy.
But I didn't realize what a tough business this was. I really didn't. So I had to do a lot of soul searching on how I led, how I did. My wife is my partner. She is an amazing woman. Big part of what we say is that the good news about this company is the corporate hierarchy is us.
Right.
So we can move fast, and that's another advantage we have. We can make changes and move fast throughout this industry, and as things are changing, we have that power. We don't have to run it by a board or up the flagpole. We do it on date night over a nice dinner, and we make those decisions, and then we move fast on them. And that's a big advantage. And she brings such a different piece to the table than I do that we complement each other perfectly. You see her on Facebook and stuff. She really is the, building that culture. Yes. And she brings a lot of pieces I don't bring, and we bring those together. And that's been our real strong suit in this business. That's but awesome. As a leader, it's growing. And if you're not growing and learning and educating yourself, and I do a lot of these high-level events with these guys, I sit back quietly at the back of the room as of today. I'm learning and listening. What have they done? What are they doing that should be different? What are they doing that's right? And I'm just like a sponge. I'm like a little kid. I'm just sucking it all in and then putting it towards our business and adjusting it or creating it or saying that doesn't work. So got a couple events coming up. The T3 Summit, great event. So I just go, learn, educate, and we're always educating ourselves. Jessica, my wife, she studies technology. She studies everything, just day in, day out. We're studying to how can we be better. We never get complacent. We know every single day we can be better, every single day. Every single one in this office, every single one of our agents, from the leadership down, can be better every day.
So good. So let's jump into that because we had some conversation. It was great. You were going to, maybe it's, I mean, time flies. I can't keep track of it, whether it was 18 months ago or a year ago. You and your wife were out taking a look at, okay, we're going to extend some training out and we want to look at the different options of it. So talk about how that has evolved. What have you, because, the beauty is we had great conversations and then it's great. I forget what the look was, but it was at a desk or something, and she was just dug in. You could feel the energy of her dug in the training and, just talks to her commitment and her vision. So talk about, when you started to take a look at, evaluating, now we're going to bring a training piece into that. Take us from that spot to where that is, because I'd love to hear how that's evolved and how that's working for you and your discoveries in it.
Um, it's still a growing thing. Our model was really never, we always hired agents that were 8+ years in the business. We started at the top of the pyramid and we're working our way, we're doing what opposite of most companies and start getting the low-hanging fruit and want to get those top producers. There's only so much top producers in the industry, number one. Hate to say it, top producers, but for our model, you bog us down a little bit. You make us the same as most of the other agents. So we wanted to really focus on those 3-deal-a-year agents, or just the ones who want to be career agents, because our agents have always been career agents. This is what they do for a living. This is how they support their families, the majority of our agents. How can we make that happen for more agents? Part of that was some different leadership. We've hired some good leaders in some different markets here in Southern California. And we started there. So now we have some good leaders to help because, again, there's only so much work Jessica and I can do. But she led this charge. And again, a lot of our training and coaching, it's more real life. As of today, we don't do a lot of contract, newbie stock type, how to farm leads, how to use good tools, good time management. Everyone talks about time management, but it's things, all the free tools that are out there. There's so much to really help an agent. Google Voice. I mean, simple things that can make you so productive. Jessica is an agent, and that's another advantage. She does 800 deals a year in Florida. She's a monster, so she knows. And we started that company by me and her licking envelopes and sending mailers and stuffing and folding. And we know what it takes to start at the bottom. And we've added that with some good leadership, and we're slowly ramping up that training, because training is important. It goes back to everyone needs to be better in themselves. And someday, we're slowly doing more contract. Actually, we've been doing contract classes. I'll take that back. We just had some in Temecula. Getting the right people in there really to help us has been a big part of that. And making it free to our agents. So, you know, the 100% model, the Achilles heel is there's only so much money to go around, and that would be the argument of the other big split companies. But you can do it. It is possible. There is so much that can be done, especially if you're leveraging webinars and recording them. We built our AGI University. So we have now a whole university that Jessica spent a lot of time building. And you can go in there and there's so much, and we're building it every day. So it just goes back to, you know, if you're on your iPad, fine, you can get into our university, you can watch training videos. So much in our AGI University that's been a huge rollout for us in the past year. Huge rollout.
Yeah. Well, I know I still go back to, and it's again what we talked about. It's the power of social media, and you know, I knew I could feel the experience watching her just from one picture, and of course, you know, having conversations with you guys before too, to know that that's something that's happening. I mean, it's just some simple pieces there going forward. So now taking a look at, you know, we've got this team phenomenon going on, and you know what it's very interesting because I work and coach with many of them, some that do 1,000 transactions. I've got 600-700 transaction teams. I call it the brokerage within the brokerage. That's the way that I look at it. You know, is that something that, you know, John, that's just, hey, congratulations, that's great, that's not within our model, or it is, but we fit them in this way? Share with me your thoughts on that, and if that's in any part of your business model.
Oh, teams is a lot of talk in the industry. Absolutely. We get lots of teams. Teams is an easy sell for us, and it comes down to dollars and cents. Sure. I'm not going to lie. Hey, Mr. Team Leader, you guys are paying a lot of money, and then you're taking more off the top. Your team's getting killed. You're probably making some money. How do we make the team more money? How do you guys put money into your pockets to grow, to be a bigger team? It's an easy conversation with us, as much as I hate to say it. We also allow them to do, for the right teams, branch offices, so if they want their office space. DBAs, but we're very picky on it. But we're probably looser than most. Hey, team leader, you have 10 agents and you want to have a nice office downtown? We're the company for you. We leave them alone too. So our teams, if they're right teams, don't lie, cheat, or steal, and go run your team, run your business, because that's what it is. Brand yourself along with the state rules and regulations, but go build your team and quit killing your team members by everybody's paying so much. So team leaders come to us and say, hey, I'm in. I just got to convince my team. We tell them, hey, just run the dollars and cents, and it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer.
Well, and the interesting thing, the discovery that I have when I have conversations, whether it's we've got X or we've got Y team members, or we're doing X or Y transactions, there's an interesting number, and I don't know if you've discovered this. And I'll say, okay, great, and I'll do this by design. I'll interrupt them and say, so you're in between 250, 300 net. How did you know? Because that's just where you guys all cap out at.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a couple discoveries, and again, thank you for your time and contributing to others, but we share with broker, owner, managers, and recruiters that are, well, we'll hear, I don't know, I'd like to hear your perspective. They'll say, oh, we don't want them, they don't fit in our model. And I'll say, well, okay, maybe not. I think that they're afraid of them because, how do we handle them and do I have value for them? Well, let's extend out to them. If you have a branch office, you're doing 100 million. Congratulations, you're a $100 million team because you're leading people that are maybe better with buyers, better with systems, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, there's a great opportunity out there for broker owners, managers, because they can use that, business input, especially when you look at your model. What a great model, because you're showing these people scalability and you're showing them margin.
Well, and they become, number one, they become leaders, because a lot of these team leaders are leaders. They're guiding, they're training, they're offering services that maybe we can't offer to other agents. They're recruiting as they build. They're now recruiters for us. They're marketers for us, because it's a win-win. And why you want them is beyond me, but like I said, they don't fit into the model, or they're too outside of their box, and how do you get them inside the box? We don't want them in the box. Sure. We're not in the box. We're outside of the box. Right. So we look at them as, hey, they're almost like staff, but not really. We get so much out of these team leaders. Number one, they keep an eye on the transactions. So it's from the bottom up. Clean files. They manage their team. They're managing their office, so we're not putting a manager in the office. Like in California, we'll actually make them a manager on the BRE, which gives them some responsibility, but it's also helping the company. So it's a real high level of what these teams bring to the table. Then they bring the business, the numbers, and the agents.
Well, and there's a principle in place here. I mean, anyone can gather, and listening to you, you are crystal clear. And a laser beam and focused, and you're creating this experience. But what I'm also capturing, and I want people to hear too, is to have power, you have to give up control. And there's a fine line in there.
Well, that goes back to one thing I've learned as a leader. One thing in this industry is I could be the janitor and I'll be happy as long as this company's running. I'm not attached to CEO or being in control. Mm-hmm. We're here to run a business, and we're here to support agents and make their lives better, and their families have more money in their pockets. And again, it goes back to we do what it takes to do that. I'm not a control freak by no means, and I have good teams around me, so I don't need that. I don't need that anymore. I can let go. That's easy.
Yes,
it's becoming easier.
Yeah, right. Well, and I think the other thing too is strategies, tactics, systems. People are caught up in this grind thing, but why grind when you can leverage yourself? And what I want people to hear is if you expand your mind, and you said this in different terms, is, John, I've got a team that's out there that's building, it works within our framework, and by the way, they're recruiting. So when they're recruiting, they're extending our brand out, which builds better credibility. Ladies and gentlemen, follow that. I mean, we can, listen, you've got to pick up the phone when you need to pick up the phone. You need to do a follow-up. You need to have some sort of, just like with any lead follow-up to it, but why not enroll and support your people in the process because they'll do that work.
Absolutely. And then you help give them the tools maybe they're missing to do that work better.
Mm-hmm.
And then some of these teams may bring tools that, hey, you guys have good tools. So we really, really support them. And there's so much talk out there of the teams. This has been going on with us forever, way before the talk. Right. We were just attracting the teams, and we go after them like most people, but we've been going after teams for a long time, years.
Sure. I think your father, when I had initial conversations with him, is because that's where our first point of contact came through was him is absolute. He was a laser beam on him. I mean, he was going for it, and it's still this day. Fearless, you know your dad better than I, but fearless is the term that I think of when I think of your father. Would that be pretty fair to say?
Yeah, spot on.
But the nicest guy. I mean, I saw him. I think we met in person at gathering of Eagles out in Dallas one year.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a little bit on the edge myself, and so I think maybe we connected real well that way.
I think I could be a little more reserved. I do have fears, but it's just part of growing a business.
Oh,
there's fear, but not too many.
Sure. So here we are in current space and time. You're looking at $1 billion in increase in sales over the last year. What do you guys look like over the next 12 months? Number one, from sitting down and looking at your vision, what does 12 months from today look like for you?
Transactions, we're right on track to add another 3,000 transactions. It's looking like probably end the year it's 12,000. 3.7 billion. Looks like we're going to do it again. It's going after good agents, getting good agents, retaining good agents. We may not be growing agent count as much as we would like necessarily, but I look at some of these other companies and they're adding 500 a year, 400 a year, but I'm not even seeing them on the rankings. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it is dollars to cents, even in the 100% model. Agents doing no business aren't making us money. Mm-hmm. They're not making anyone money.
Sure.
So, and our goal is to continue to build culture is a big one for us because it is virtual. So they're different. How do we get in front of people more in different ways? I told you we're really good at it, but more of it, more training to continue to keep those numbers up, and continuing to grow and just build this business.
And in doing that, certainly it's the collective genius and the brilliance. You guys hold a crystal clear vision. How much of how you've evolved from back to you when you took the handoff from your father and ran with this thing up until today, how much of where you're going is really shaped by a straight input from the agents, a pulse from them? I mean, you're out there amongst the best of the best. You're sitting in the back of the room and doing the most brilliant thing, listening. How much of that would you say has to do with the agent experience going forward?
A ton. That's what it's all about, is the agent experience. If we're not listening to our agents, we might as well close the doors. And again, like I mentioned earlier, I get text messages, I get phone calls. I want to hear from our agents. I want to know. Obviously, not everything. We're running a business, so we need to make our business decisions. But the agents are our customers. If we're not listening to what they need and what they want, we do surveys and stuff, but we have our ears to the ground constantly. How can we make that agent experience? That's what it is. The agent experience.
So as you've shared about the growth trajectory, and here's what we talked before we got on. I was talking to another broker that had great growth in their first year. And what I've found, and like I say, it's not I'm the brilliant guy. I've just hung around long enough, and so when you hang around long enough, you can gather data and see. What I've seen is his was a startup, and they brought in 100 agents. Typically, in the startups, what I see in year one is about a 40 to 50% attrition rate, because the picture of you know what they in genuine the vision is this, and what they don't realize when they start up is stuff happens. It just does, and they didn't mean to have that take place, and they've done really well under 5% attrition in a startup, which is unreal. I took him back to a number that where I see, and I started recording this back in 95, 95. And if I were to sit with a brokerage firm that has 100 agents and says, we want to grow, great. So what we really need to understand is you're at 100, no, you're at 70 right now because you're losing 30% of those people. And I can show you some of the best and the new, but that's how it is. How about, I mean, is that what you found as you've interacted with a lot of big brokers?
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
How about you guys?
People move, die, leave the business.
Sure.
Um, Again, we've had hiccups, and people are quick to move in this industry too. But those are numbers are right on. They're spot on.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's getting our recruiting higher
Mm-hmm.
to make up for that.
Do you have, are you the one that's in charge of recruiting? Is your wife, or do you have someone now at this point? Because, you know, you look at these great growth numbers, and then is there one person in the organization that's identified as that recruiter, or have you not gone to that point?
Well, we have our recruit. My wife runs that department, but it goes hand in hand with the market.
Mm-hmm.
But we have our dedicated recruiters. Yes, absolutely. Very good, very, very excellent. But the wife is running that shit.
Well, then people...
Marketing changed dramatically too. So if you're not on board in the new generations of all that,
Sure.
sending out your e-blasts and stuff, if you're not cookie tracking and doing all the other things out there that need to be done, and I don't ask me to speak in that world because I'm way outside that loop. But,
Well, and here's what it's interesting, and again, and I want to compliment her, and as you are very complimentary. If someone gets to have an experience of your wife, they're probably joining. I mean, you know, she's a competent woman and
yes,
committed.
yes.
But here's what's great, and I want people to capture this. The organization I was telling you about that I talked about to this morning, and I said, so tell me about your number one, you know, strategy, the down in the trenches tactic that has grown your company. And it was great because he believes in it 100%, but he was like, well, you know, listen, I believe in the phone, and I prospect, and he does. I mean, he's within a system that does that. He coaches people for one of the top coaches. He's the real deal. He says, but John, Facebook, social media.
Go to my wife's Facebook.
Yeah, where you're talking about extending out this, you know, it brings us back to what we talked about. You know, how do you do culture? Well, I don't know. I'm just kind of, and you didn't say it sarcastically. I mean, maybe I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but it's kind of like, well, I don't know. I'm just kind of creating an experience where everyone is instead of trying to make them do what they don't want to do.
It goes back to people having an opinion of you. They have a relationship of you. And that's a big difference of how you do social media. It's like you, John, I watch you. Most of your stuff's personal. And then you throw in the business. People need to like you. They need to know what you're doing. They dress your little dog Foofy up in her little outfit, drinking your Starbucks coffee. This is what it is. People like that. And then they say, hey, cool, we like these people. And then they see the business stuff. I wasn't a big believer of it either early on. And it takes time, and that's what, like, on the agent level, it's not an overnight, it's not the magic pill, but if you do it and you do it right, it's very powerful.
Well, and
it can work opposite too. Some people may say, "Hey, John, you suck. I don't like you. I've never met you, but I don't like your post," and they'll move on.
Yes, and that's a great point there, because there's a fine line, and part of it, what I share with people is, listen, make a choice. You know, if you go gray, people are going to be gray that align to you. I mean, you're trying to please people, and if you find a responsible space called your authenticity, and you stick with it and stay true to it, you're going to find people agree with you more because of your principle. You know what I like about? I don't like what the person put, but you know what? He is who he is. They want the
Yeah.
tools. And you know what? Let's do this. We probably won't do this beyond this conversation, but thank you, Kardashians, for taking us into your world and creating this reality TV world, because that's now the expectation. I mean, I know that you like to spend time, you like your time at the beach. You're not just this stuffy CEO that runs the company
Uh-huh.
that's drilling numbers. I mean, you like spending time with your little ones and on the beach and stuff. I mean, and we haven't talked live on a conversation for maybe a year or so, but I know those are the things that make up you.
We're real people
Yeah,
living life. Come to find out.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. Hey, imagine that, man. And that's
Yeah.
where we connect. So, well,
And that's the culture. That's the culture.
mhm,
The culture is not necessarily within the company. It's like you said, the culture is people in their lives and who's around, who's surrounding us, who are all the people out there in their lives and what they're doing and all the interesting things people do,
sure,
good or bad.
sure, sure.
That's
Well,
Bill.
I think that what's really neat is in our conversation and your model is there's many different things that will contribute to, whether it's, I tell people, if it's the split, the fee, the revenue share, the cap, whatever it may be. I think the piece that you've really been clear on here in the articulation is leadership, period. And from that standpoint, looking at, whether you're talking to a split broker or a fee or commission, I'm not leaving anyone out. And you sit in rooms with all of these models, and they're your peers. If you're looking at someone that's, hey, we're growing, we have a trajectory, or but we want, more productive agents, or we want to have a better retention, or whatever it may be. If you were to say one thing to a leader today at any level that you could pass on based on what you're learning, what you're experiencing, what would that be?
I think it kind of goes back to my own growth. Don't I see this in businesses all the time, and I always question a business that starts and they have their vision, and they're so wrapped into their vision, their starting vision, that they refuse to change. You see some of these like reality business TVs, Gordon Ramsay, some of these people that they refuse that my product's the best, but nobody's coming in and buying it, and I'm not going to change. And as a leader, what I would say is you may have to change. Maybe your vision is good, but maybe it's not working for what you're trying to do. Cannot be afraid of changes. You cannot think that you failed because you didn't stick right to what your plan was because it was the greatest plan in the world. If you want to be a business owner, you have to make change, whether you like it or not, whether it was what your dream is or not. If you want your business to succeed, you have to go with what the customers are telling you, what the industry is telling you, and make those changes. Because if you get complacent and you get in your box, that box may not fit.
No,
We'll
no.
go out of business.
Yeah. Well, Matthew, thank you so much. Where are the best places that people can reach out to you if someone has an interest in joining your organization or just having a chat with you further on leadership philosophies? What are the best places that people can reach out and connect with you?
As far as agents or me,
Sure. Hmm.
for me, my personally,
Hmm.
well, my
Or
email
would
is
it be your wife, or who would that be if someone's interested in joining your organization?
Jeff Jabora. He
Okay.
is the man. Works day and night. Jeff Jabora, Jabora at ajicorporate.com.
Okay.
He can answer any and all questions for you. He works 7 days a week, and he is here to serve agents. That's
Good.
what he does.
And
Yep.
and how about to contact you?
My contact is mcrumbaugh at ajicorporate.com.
Sure. And good old Matthew Crumbaugh on Facebook. I mean, we connect there all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, Facebook, of course.
Sure.
We have our Allison James Facebook. My wife, Jessica, follow her on Facebook, of course, because she is a interesting, silly French woman, and she's She's fun to watch.
She is great. Yes, please follow Jessica. She's got.
That's a good come on Facebook. Reach out to her, and there's always good information there.
Absolutely good. Well, hey, thank you. I honor you. I appreciate your time and your contribution. And maybe we'll have I'm sure we'll have many conversations between now and a year from today. But I'd be excited. Maybe we'll have to pick this back up a year from today and talk about another $1 billion in sales added to the organization. How's that sound?
Yep. Perfect. Thank you, John.
Good.